Oh yeah. Also, I just think that our perception of the matter is our perception of the matter is you know I'm not big into at all. I'm not into motivational. This is gonna sound like a motivational speech more than anything, but I'm not into all this this prosperity preaching or anything else. But you know what? You can't ignore the good in God either. Now, by I don't what I mean by prosperity, I just mean truth, realness. Not somebody who's just standing up in front of a gajillion people and telling them all that God wants you to be rich and prosper and da 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 da. God God doesn't care about your wealth at all. I mean, really, He calls some people to be rich. He calls some people to be whatever they are. Sometimes God leaves it up to you to just whatever you do, do it for His glory. If you're His child, whatever. My point is, there's nothing wrong. Like there's people out there that just want to concentrate on the doom and gloom, the end days, and all this other stuff and whatever. Um, Only concentrating on the negative stuff is just as flaky and fake as concentrating on the bad stuff. You need something called balance. If you're gonna sit there and just uh, do doom and gloom all the time and not preach the good about God, then you're just giving half the story. And the same thing with the people that just want to talk about all the good stuff. Talk about the good and the bad. As long as you're not misleading people. But you know, I think a lot of our hurt comes from the way we perceive things. Like, look, hurt is real. It goes on every day, and I'm not downplaying hurt. Things hurt. Things hurt. Especially when that person is significant and they act out of sorts. But just know that, God sees your pain. And like I said in my video yesterday and the video I just did before this, I don't even upload the video, but I will. I'll do a part one and part two. And you could see the part one and part two because I'm wearing the same hat and the same hoodie. So, I mean, come on now. You know. But, I mean, I say that because I have a lot of part one, part two videos. I mean, but you could just tell by the clothes that I'm wearing. Hurt is real. It's real. But see, if you allow the hurt, our thinking is what is the problem most of the time. And I'm not saying it's our fault that we get hurt. There are people out there that hurt us. But you know what? There's also situations, and I'm kind of just putting the cart before the horse here. I'm not really I'm kind of jumping all over the place. I have the tendency to do that. When I have a lot to say, I have a hard time organizing my words. But look, you know, um, what am I trying to say? People will hurt you, and you know, man, I hit a brick wall, man. This video is turning out stupid. Yeah, our perception, the way that we see things. Now, there are people out there that really do things that, they don't mean to hurt you. And sometimes people, look, hurt is hurt. I'm not sitting here saying that you don't get hurt. I'm not sitting here saying that people aren't out to hurt people. But what I'm saying is there's, in my opinion, at least there's three kinds of hurt that I can identify with. Hurt that people caused me when the offense was so minute, but for some reason I allowed it to just, hang around. So that little minute, no big deal, fly on the wall, just swat at it and it'll fly away. Nothing major. Let it go. Instead of just doing that, I allowed it to hang around. And the longer you let it hang around, it becomes a problem. So what started off to be something that big, my voice is weird, trust me. I sound like a little girl right now because I'm just getting over a cold. So just trust me, man. I don't normally sound like this. For some reason, my voice just never came back, But But yeah, I'm still getting over this cold. I got this cold a while ago, and I've never really gotten over it. I mean, the cold kind of went away sort of, but my voice is like, man, my voice is tore up from the floor up, man. It's crazy. But yeah, I mean, something so minute you allow it to just, stick around. And that minute thing kind of became, a major thing. Like really, the offense itself was nothing. Literally, a fly on the wall. Just swat it, and bzzz, it flies right away. But because you've allowed it to stick around, it just, you can't even look at the situation and see it for what it is. Because your thinking by now is so distorted that, you've allowed your perception to be so, like, unorganized and just, like, delusional. And I don't mean delusional in a crazy psychotic way. I just mean delusional in, like, dude, you've been, like, you just let it, it's a stronghold. You're not seeing it the right way. You're just being, you're not seeing it the way it's supposed to be. Okay, so that's one way. Another way is somebody who tries to hurt you and they got away with it, but it's kind of like the first example, except to a larger degree. But then there's those people that really do malicious things to you, and they don't just try to hurt you, they try to ruin you. They don't try to ruin your day or your week or your year. They try to ruin your whole life. And they will do anything they can. Some of these people, look, nobody ever has a reason to do that to somebody, but some of these people legitimately have no reason. And you'll be looking at that thinking, I treated that person so good. What on earth are they doing to me, man? But look, my point is that although all of those scenarios, even the little minute one, pain is pain, but there's nothing wrong with hurting. Hurting is very, very real. It is very, very real. But and it's not, and I sound like I'm being fake, like I'm being insensitive. Like, dude, you've never had an ounce of hurt in your life. If you're gonna drop this video and be serious about it, are you serious? I could sit here and tell you stories that would rot your socks. Like your socks would just jump off your feet and run away and never come back. Okay, so don't ever think that I've lived some crazy silver spoon in my mouth, awesome life and this and that. Never. Like trust me, man. But I'm starting to come to realize things that, if you just think about it. See, like sometimes our hurt can blind us so much because of our pride that, we don't want to think that, sometimes our hurt is all that we see. And I'm a sensitive dude, so I know how it is, But in all of us, sometimes our hurt is all that we see. We choose not to see the perception. We choose not to say, well, hey, look, this person hurt me. So that's it. They hurt me. We don't want to see that maybe we kind of blew it out of proportion a little bit. Now, I'm not talking about those people that want to destroy your life. Those people that want to destroy your life, you can't downplay something like that. There's no way that you could ever look at something like that and say, hey, look, whatever. As long as that's what that person is legitimately trying to do to you. You can't look at somebody who just hurts you and say, they're trying to destroy my life. If you're going to say that about somebody, base it off of something that's real. Do a lot of soul searching. Vengeance is God's. So nobody ever has a reason to pay anybody back. But I'm just saying, it's just the way of the world. People do stuff for payback. Did you do something to deserve this person hurting you? Not to say that anybody deserves to be hurt to the point of where somebody tries to destroy your life. But what I'm saying is, did you do something to this person, or are you just an innocent victim? a victim of a person that had no right doing what they did, but they did it anyways. I guess all that doesn't even really matter, because what I'm trying to say is that even in those circumstances, God has a plan. I'm not saying that God is the cause of the hurt, but for those who love God, everything will come full circle. Everything will work itself out. And a lot of times things work itself out regardless, even for people that don't even pay attention to God. But especially for those who love God. Now, if you have a relationship with God and you're his child, then you could be guaranteed it's going to work out. But if you're part of the world, then you're kind of just like, kind of playing heads and tails. You flip the coin, you call heads, you kind of hope it lands on heads, but maybe it won't. But if you belong to God, you could be, that's in his word. It's not based off of emotion. It's not based off of, your past hurts or whatever. How could anybody love me? Read the Bible. That's his word. He loves you. And, your hurt is, it's all part of his plan. And I know when times get dark and they get tough and, the world turns its back on you, your friends turn out to be fakes. Your family some of them turn out to be enemies. And, people who you trusted, in some of our cases, like, not in my case particularly, I mean, as far as I know, who knows? I mean, maybe she does hate me. I don't know, really. It is what it is. But in a lot of parental alienation cases, I'm not just strictly talking about all kinds of hurt. But, sometimes our kids, spit at us, figuratively speaking. Sometimes literally, I'm sure. Like these kids are turned into, these parents get a hold of these kids and they just like grab them by the neck and shake them like a violent pit bull, and they do damage to these kids' psyche, and they really convince these kids that you are a horrible person when you're probably not. You probably love that kid very much, and you're just probably an innocent victim. Maybe you're not. Maybe you are. If it's legitimate parental alienation, and not all parental alienation is different. It's not all the same. It's kind of like you're a football player. Horrible example, but there's different positions. Just not all football players are quarterbacks. Not all football players are defensive linemen. Not all football players are running backs or wide receivers or offensive tackles or defensive linemen. Safeties and cornerbacks and linebackers. Those are all different positions within the same sport. It's kind of like parental alienation. There's different ways of going about doing it. But my point is that, people can hurt us. People can hurt us. Now, if I met my kid in person, there's a good chance she wouldn't even want to talk to me. I don't know. Maybe she's not too hung up on the idea yet. I don't know. I don't really take time to think about it, really. I don't. You know why? Because I know God has a plan. And, it could be hard to really accept that, but he does. He's got a plan. And, I'm not even just talking about that scenario. I just threw that out there because, if you watch some of my videos, it's part of my life. It's not my life. That scenario, there's more to my life than that scenario. What, are you kidding me? My daughter does not rule my life. She doesn't rule my emotions. She doesn't rule whether I'm happy or sad, or, whether it's night or day, whether it's 2 o'clock in the morning or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. My kid does not rule my world, trust me. Okay? But it just so happened that, a lot happened revolving around that person. I've lost, of course I lost my daughter, but I've lost more than that too. So things like that, can hurt when somebody is out to get you. That's my point. That's why I'm using that example. But in the midst of all that, just know that God has a plan and rest in that. Just rest. Just know he has a plan. And the enemy will try to, put thoughts into your mind, or the enemy will try to, really, kind of derail you, or try to get you to, revert back to the, to the way